Getting to Tioman Island is a bit of a trek. If not timed right, you can either spend an additional night in Johor or be forced to take the late afternoon ferry. There are only 2 per day leaving from various ports in the area, so it's pretty easy to understand why so many package tourists come here and get dropped off at designated times. Many rent cars from Kuala Lumpur, however, and doing this is a nice way to see the part of the country that's not often seen along the beaten path. If driving, park in the Mersing car park and come early on weekends and holidays to help ensure there's enough spots available. An 8 ringgit per day fee is payable when you leave. Either a prepaid ticket can be arranged, or someone will come along and mark your tires to collect the fee upon return. Tioman itself is an island best prepared for in advance. Though it's comprised of sleepy villages and not at all commercialized, it's just one of those places that more energy will be spent getting there than actually being there. One hurdle most people run into is which drop-off to choose when deciding where to stay. The ferry stops at many ports along the island, starting from south to north. From the ferry terminal, the price will depend on which port you choose, so read up in advance and decide early where you'll want to stay. Alright, so here we are in Tioman Island. It's kinda awesome and kinda eerie. I don't like the sun. White pasty guys like me just kind of burn in the sun. So the cloudiness and mistiness that you see around you is both a blessing and a curse. It's a phenomenon that I wasn't aware about until I came here actually. But Indonesia, this time of year, burns all of their dead crops, and all of the resulting smoke covers southern Malaysia in this giant pillow of smoke. You can smell it. It smells like a giant campfire. It is not pleasant. But I hate to say it, but it makes for an absolutely epic looking misty background. In any case, I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to do some snorkeling. So I came out, rented a private boat from Muan here, who's an awesome boat driver. And so anyway, I'm gonna get to it. Stop wasting more time. Oh. This is incredible. There's sea urchins. There's brain coral all over the place. This is really going to be fun. I wish I could say that the coral diving around Tioman was unique, but compared to other parts of Malaysia, southern Thailand, and Borneo, the diversity is really not that spectacular. I know that I came here at a time when the sunlight, which normally illuminates the coral and wildlife to a much greater degree, was much depleted by recent burning in Indonesia, but this really wasn't the biggest hurdle to seeing the true buffet of biological offerings here. Most of the coral in recent years has actually receded due to pollution from agricultural runoff and sea level shifting. The Tourism Bureau really didn't have a lot to say on the matter, but further investigation revealed that a 15-month reef rehabilitation program has been in effect since April 2012. This was sponsored by the Malaysian Nature Society. During the time of the cleanup, the society had been joined by NGO partners and supported by local resorts and tourism benefactors. The Berjaya Cares Foundation, the Berjaya Hotels and Resorts conglomerate, as well as other partners, have joined in on the effort of cleaning out plastics from the reef and educating locals and visitors as to the types of things that harm the coral. But regardless how much education, funding, and planning that's done here, the global reef infrastructure is always under threat of loss from a different factor: ocean temperature. Coral reefs are extremely sensitive to temperature, and with the rising global atmospheric temperature, the sea is following suit. And while this is not a global warming informational video, I always try and advocate for these fragile ecosystems whenever I can. They don't just supply humanity with pretty things to look at underwater. In addition to the ecotourism that helps sustain tiny communities like this one, with a global annual total of nearly $400 billion, coral reefs are also responsible for filtering ocean waters, providing habitats for countless marine species, protecting shorelines from erosion, and myriad other services to the Earth's waters.
That's pretty awesome. Ugh. There's not like a whole lot of variety, but it definitely is impressive. You see all the wildlife and everything. The coral is crazy. My snorkel's trying to eat my hair. Anyway, yeah, it was a lot of fun. Ugh. Swallowed enough salt water to feel like a merman. It's really, really blue water. I hope my little GoPro is getting some good stuff.
From the southern end of the island, where I started snorkeling, we headed over to Tioman Beach, the largest beach on the island and home of the administrative center of the community.
Pretty cool little beach. It's on the north end of Tioman Island, and it's got like some, what do you call it, resort stuff hanging off the top of the mountain over here. And it's very kind of like cryptic and misty and all that stuff. Pretty cool. I think I'd probably already be sunburned if I wasn't covered in all this smog. It really is crazy. Anyway, basically some of the tours, what they do is they drive you by boat out to the reefs. Then there's actually reefs all the way through here. There's a little island, I don't know if you can see it, but it's back that way. All around there is where I was just at. When they come in, and there's reef all the way between these things. I guess there's reef all the way around the island, but some of it's just simply too deep to snorkel. The rest of it is like scuba diving territory, which kind of went all out on. I was late getting the ferry, I was late reserving the room, I had to get the boat all by myself, so I'm kind of spent. So it's probably good advice for other people who come out. It's one of those islands where you just kind of have to book ahead, you know? Otherwise it can get a little expensive.
Tekek is the island's main hub, and with its duty-free tobacco and alcohol, one might think they were in an airport, and incidentally, this is also where the airport is located. If you want a bank, to use the internet, or anything remotely resembling first world development, this is where you'll want to be.
It's a very shelly beach. Got all these Cretaceous period hills coming up, all the broken coral.
Coral reefs are known as the rainforests of the sea, but this is a little misleading. It may surprise some to find out that corals are not actually plants at all. They're animals known as cnidaria, which create exoskeletons made of calcium carbonate secreted by the corals themselves. This family of animals also includes jellyfish and sea anemones. There are two classifications of corals, those which build reefs and those which do not. And though those that we see here seem to be stationary and sort of dull, the coral community is chock full of amazing activities. Many corals are in constant battle with other coral, attacking and devouring them bit by bit. Other coral work as construction managers of the reef system, rebuilding and strengthening the coral wall. Some coral even catch small fish and plankton. Some are poisonous and even deadly. Others still are indirectly dangerous, as certain types of bacteria live on them which, when their sharp edges penetrate into an animal, eat the flesh right down to the bone. These two classifications can be further broken up into two subclasses by means of the number of tentacles or lines of symmetry in their exoskeleton. Amazingly, almost everything you see in the coral system is made up of genetically identical marine invertebrates known as polyps. These polyps are tiny creatures which perform the job of absorbing nutrients and eventually hardening into a new layer, which eventually increases the size of the coral reef generation after generation. Most corals can't grow in waters deeper than 60 meters. This is because they require sunlight, which produce the algae that sustains much of its nutrients. But those which do not rely on algae have been found as deep as 3,000 meters in places like the depths off the Puget Sound and around the Aleutian Islands in Alaska.
probably the thickest, most disgusting salt water I've ever had to swallow mouthfuls of. It's really, really thick. But the wildlife is great. All these really colorful fish and everything. There's a rock quarry just over that way. It's pretty awesome because right underneath it, it looks like a completely different world. I don't even know how to describe it. It's really cool. I don't know if it's pollution or salt, but my eyes are burning right now. Oh, crazy.
For my final 15 minutes in the water, I had the boat driver haul me around the circumference of the smallest island to get a look from the larger reef from above.